Father was the type of person that very little dialogue, just performance. You know, did you cut the grass? It's not right. Cut it again, cut it again, cut it again until it's perfect. And never, you did a good job. You know, he never went to any sporting event I was ever in, ever. The full gamut was I had the sexual, physical, and mental abuses. And as I grew, I was always ashamed. I always felt guilty. I always felt dirty. Even though I knew I didn't cause them, I always felt like I was hiding. So in between my junior and senior year, I met a girl who's now my wife, Peggy, but she talked about how with God, you could have this peace. And obviously the first day I'm not going to tell someone, you know, how dark my background is. And she came from a good family. You know, I knew that right away. She talked for 12 straight hours. We walked up and down the beach and everything she said just spoke to my heart about how this Jesus can really do this. He can really take that all away. 2 days later, I'd gone to bed at about maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I had gone to the Long Beach Island to try drugs. I'd never tried drugs. Never had even a cigarette in my hand. And I went there with the express purpose of trying marijuana or partying. And I'd been up for a couple days. I'd met this girl and I was confused. And I remember laying in bed. I was staying at someone's house. I had to get up at 6 o'clock. I hadn't slept in days. I took off my watch and I said, you know what? I prayed. I said, God, if you really want me, if this is real, if you can take away all this hurt and all this pain and all this darkness, then wake me up at 6 o'clock. And I put the watch down and I passed out. And I woke up and I could hear seagulls and I was so totally awake and I felt so good. And I looked down at this watch and I was scared to turn it over. And I don't know how long I looked at it. And when I turned it over, that second hand went 6. And I did business with God. And I asked him into my heart. And from that second, I felt different, totally different, dramatically different. I didn't feel ashamed. I didn't feel dark. I felt alive. I felt like something new had happened. And I was crazy. I was running and telling everybody. I mean, there wasn't anybody I didn't tell. So after I get saved, we get married, and life's just going along great. Get into technical field, jobs are getting better, buying houses, children come along, and I'm a positive person. Things are going great. I'm just having victory after victory. We're attending church. Everything's going great. My baby brother, his name was Court, started to call me and say, he's married, and saying, I'm having problems. And my answer was always, you know, you gotta be positive. Just be positive. And I remember we were going on a cruise, we were leaving from Florida, and he called me. And he said, I'm really struggling, and I just fast talked him. You know, everything's gonna be fine. We got on the cruise, and the second day we get a phone call from my son saying that my baby brother had hung himself. And my world just tumbled down again. It just closed down. And ironically, we couldn't get off that ship for 2 days. So we're on this cruise ship struggling for 2 days, and the guilt and the darkness and the being ashamed. Why I was ashamed, I don't know, but being ashamed and just feeling that same came back, and it flooded. And it was really collapsing on me. I mean, there was grief, but this was bad. And I decided out of desperation that I had to go back to the cross. And I asked God again, can you help me, please? Because I could see it spiraling out of control. And the exact same thing happened again. He took all that guilt, he took all that pain, he took all that fear. And you know, I still grieved and I still felt bad, but he took me back in his arms and put me in another place. I know that there are people that are dealing with all types of abuses and desperation. And the world offers a lot of remedies. I mean, I've read so many books for years about being positive. It doesn't work. When you're faced with real despair, there's only one remedy. There's only one thing that the world has, and that's Christ. Everything else is a Band-Aid, and that darkness is going to overtake you. And I would want someone to realize that you can't be in a spot that God can't pull you from. You can't have something that's that deep that He can't love you from, or love you enough to get you out of instantly. You know, my story is dramatic because it happened, it's personal, it happened to me, and it happened in an instant. And I know that there's nothing that can happen in my life that I can't go to God with and dump at the cross.